In this lesson, we'll learn about the optics options. So first we have remove chromatic aberration. Chromatic aberration is a distortion that you get along the edges of things when using a specific camera or lens. You might be able to see very subtly that along the edges of these pillars is a little sort of pinkish magenta line. It'll appear as sort of magenta or green. And if you ever see that line, you can turn on the remove chromatic aberration to get rid of that. I know it's hard for you to see here. I can see it on my computer, so I hope you're following along and can see these little magenta lines moving, turning on and off. So basically, if you see those lines, turn that on. Next, we have enable lens corrections. Let's go to this image here. So if I turn this on, look what happens. It looks like it's a little bit distorted. The edges become a little bit brighter. So what's happening is with every lens, there's some sort of natural distortion and also natural vignetting around the edges. Well, with most lenses anyways. The wider the lens, the more sort of distortion you'll get around the edges. So by clicking this on or off, it removes that distortion and it also removes the vignetting around the edge. Click on this drop-down menu and you'll notice that with this camera and this lens, it knows exactly what lens we are using. So it's already applied the specific effects for this lens because it knows that with this lens, you get X amount of distortion, X amount of vignetting, and will basically reverse that. You can also go in and adjust it manually with these sliders. So if you drag to the left or right, you can get back the distortion from the natural distortion from the lens. Drag to the right will actually increase the distortion. And then same with the vignetting. Say you want to get rid of the distortion but want to leave the vignetting, well, just enable it, but then drag your lens vignetting back so you still get that natural vignetting, which I actually like. And you're seeing your photos through your lens, so you're actually seeing that with your own eye. So a lot of the times I like leaving it as so. If you're editing a photo that is a compressed JPEG or it doesn't have the metadata for the lens you're using and you try to apply enable lens corrections, it will not be able to pick that profile for you. You can do it manually if you know the lens by clicking this camera icon and then choosing the lens. But you want to make sure that it matches with the actual lens. Say we pick something like Canon, we'd say it's a 15 millimeter. It's creating this crazy distortion because this is not the lens we used. Well, maybe that's a sort of interesting effect you want to add, but generally you just want to pick the lens that actually matches it or just use the manual features. So that's what optics is. Next, we're going to go over geometry.